Well, this video quality is not going to be the greatest, and the audio is going to be just as shitty as the video because I'm using a 7-inch shitty Galaxy tablet because I lost my iPhone. Anyways, let's take a look at my $20 garage sale purchase. Me being a mechanic for the last 25 years, playing around with hot rods, muscle cars, dirt bikes, go-karts, you name it. If it's gas or electric, I've had it, built it, and love it all. I've had probably about 7 or 8 different mid-drive electric bicycles that I built off of the water bottle bolts with some aluminum brackets before mid-drive electric bikes were even invented. I made a couple of them. I've had a few with high-performance hub motors, 5,000 watts, and I've had a few of these gas kits. So when I seen this at a garage sale, leaning in the backyard in the bushes, I asked him, "Are you selling that, mountain bike over there?" And the guy says, "I don't know. What do you give me for it?" I went and looked at it, and I says, $20, and I'm helping you get rid of it because the rims were twisted up like pretzels. It was rusted as bad as the Titanic. It was a piece of junk. The motor was hanging off the side, tank was hanging off, the coil was hanging off, the rims were bent flat, sprocket was on backwards, chain tensioner was on backwards. It was a mess. But it still had some chrome on the muffler, and that tells me that somebody put this kit on very shitty and didn't get very far, so the motor must be still pretty good. So I took the plug out, spun the motor over, and it spun over very good. There was no cracks in the block, the crank wasn't seized, the piston had a lot of compression, and it had spark, and the clutch was still good. So I figured, you know what, clutch is good, compression's good, spark's good, crank's good, it'll run. Worst comes to worst, I buy a $20 carburetor brand new on eBay, but this will run with a bunch of work. So I bought a $25 mountain bike on top of that for the rims, and a couple other things in the seat. And I'm going to put some Beach Cruiser handlebars on here, and if it warms up, I'm going to take a wire brush, clean it all up, and paint the motor high heat matte black and the muffler, and then paint the whole frickin' bike matte black. I'll just tape up the seat and put some Beach Cruiser handlebars on it, so it'll be nice and clean and pretty looking. Mechanically, it runs as good as a Honda motorcycle. I mean, this thing fires up really good for a cheap Chinese motor kit that sat for 2 years in the backyard. I'm surprised it runs. I took a chance for $20. Worst comes to worst, I give it away, right? Yeah, it's like somebody put a brand new kit on and never got to use it. So I put a new motor mount on there, a custom one, to make the motor stay nice and solid and straight on the frame instead of pulling over when you use the power of the chain to pull the motor over. The 2 bottom motor mounts are not enough. You need a top mount on these things. So I made one that goes off the exhaust, and I've had 3 of these gas kits before, and I made that motor mount, and it's been very reliable. So I bent the muffler over a little bit to clear the pedals, made that motor mount. I did have some gasket spacers for the sprocket from another kit that I never used because whoever put this sprocket on put it on backwards, and they put the rubber gaskets all on this side of the spokes, so it was a mess. So I put that on proper, fixed the chain tensioner, it was up there, greased the chain because it was like seized. I had to use vice grips and pliers to unfree each link. That's how long it sat. Yeah, just adjusted everything. JB Weld the boost bottles to the bottom of the frame, put a rubber boot underneath the gas tank, and Loctite on the bolts with some hot glue, and some new gas line, new filter, unfreed, the throttle was sticking, and yeah, there's air in the tires, and once I got the gas to flow through that carburetor, and it fired right up, and I drove for about, I don't know, whatever a full tank of gas is. It's still got some gas left in it. Those boost bottles down there, they don't give it more power, I don't think, but it does make the bike run a little better. It gives you a little more low-end torque. It just makes the crankcase a little more bigger, a lot more air in the intake, which is better for keeping the motor cooler, better for gas mileage or whatnot. But anyways, it's all adjusted, it's solid. I made that motor mount. I highly recommend you do the same thing. Who cares if you drill a hole? It's worth it because the motor stays where you want it to stay. It don't move around. The chain doesn't you know, slack up and become tight because the motor's sliding around. Also, the bottom bracket here, it's a plate bolting to the motor with a bolt drilled right through the frame to keep it from sliding around. So this motor is basically part of this frame now. The sprocket's on there properly, the rims are straight, nice comfortable seat. Let's give it a shot, see how she fires up after sitting all night in the cold. It's really cold here. It was nice and warm, I don't know what happened. Winter just don't want to fucking leave. 90 degrees almost a couple days ago, now it's like what? Went down to 6 Celsius overnight. And this has been sitting, so I don't know how well it's going to start. Shut this door and went that oil inside. Started up nice. They shut it off because I don't want my neighbors flipping out. As you can see, I'm on a balcony, I have neighbors. And I just left a skid mark on my brand new carpet, man. Fuck me. Hopefully I'll come out with rain. A couple rubs. Now, won't do that again. Burnouts on my balcony, are you serious? Uh-oh, did I lock myself out? Well, that's my $20 gas mountain bike. Like I said, you see it now. It don't look very pretty. Mechanically, it runs really good. Next video, it'll be all painted with some Beach Cruiser handlebars on it. And you might want it, because it runs well and it's going to look pretty.